Welcome back to Huawei Routing and Switching Elite Training for HCIE. Today topic we are going to discuss on other technologies. Let's start our part 4.
Okay, now let's look into this QoS lab. Right now on R1, R2 and R3 I have established the OSPF under the area 0. Okay, so let me show you the IP address. I have 3 loopback. Okay, loopback 0 is quad 1, loopback 1 is quad 11, and loopback 2 is quad 12. And since I already have all the loopback already configured and advertised through the OSPF, as you can see that I'm able to ping to the interface on router 3 loopback. Okay, so that is the 1.1, so I'm going to do 11. And same go for the 12 as well, so I'm sure able to ping without any problem. Okay, so this is a very simple routing. Our focus is not on the routing, our focus is on how to configure the QoS. Now let's assume that the IP address of 1.1 is a high priority. 11 is a data critical application, and let's say number 12 is not so important. Okay, so we are going to classify this into different type of DSCP. So I'm going to do it on R2. Okay, let's say for example on R2, first I'm going to make sure that the 1.1 is very important, and I'm going to think of it as an voice. Now since this is an voice, we want it to have a high priority. So I'm going to create an ACL. Okay, let's say I'm going to call it at 2001 rules permit 111 0. Okay, permit source, sorry. Okay, so I have here my first ACL that is to permit the source of 1.1. Next I'm going to create another ACL 2011, let's say, and I'm going to do a rule permit source 11. Okay, and I'm going to do an ACL 2012. Alright, so I have 3 ACL already, okay, which is 2001, 2011 and 2012. Now first thing for you to do is to make sure that you are going to cache those packets. Alright, so this one is to cache the source of quad 1, and we have to cache the source of quad 11. Okay, I think that this one is an extra. Let me undo ACL 2000. Sorry, this is the earlier ACL that I did early on. Let me show you again. Okay, so this is the right one. Now next I'm going to configure the traffic classifier. Okay, now the purpose of the classifier is to match based on certain condition. So let's say I'm going to say that this is a classifier for R2. Okay, I'm going to match ACL of 2000 and 2001. So basically I have a classifier called R2. Okay, and this R2 that is going to match ACL 2001. So I'm going to create another classifier. Okay, so let's say I'm going to call it as R2 AF11. Okay, and I'm going to say that if I match ACL 2011. Okay, and I'm going to repeat this. Sorry, so I'm going to do a traffic classifier R2 underscore, let's say I'm going to call it AS12. Okay, so I'm going to match ACL 2012. Right, so let's do a display traffic classifier user defined. So here I have 3 classifier. R2, that's the urgent one. Okay, I'm going to do a marking later on. But for this classifier, I'm actually matching ACL 2001. For this classifier, I'm going to match ACL 2012, and R2 underscore AF12 classifier is to match ACL of 12. Next, I'm going to do a traffic behavior. Okay, now this behavior, you need to do some action. I'm going to do a remark DSCP. Now before that, let me show you what are the things that you can remark. You can remark 8021P, the customer VLAN or client VLAN, DSCP, frame relay DE, local preference, or MPIS EXP. So for our case, we just do a remark DSCP. Okay, now since I want it to be urgent, I'm going to use as an EF. Alright, so that will be the voice. Okay, so that is on the R2. So I'm going to repeat this traffic behavior R2 underscore AF11. So I'm going to do a remark DSCP AF11. Okay, and I have another one 12. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to remark under AF12. Now anyway, let me show you the AF11 as an option, and AF12 is an option here. So I have AF12. It doesn't matter on the uppercase or lowercase. Now let me show you here, display traffic behavior user defined. So now I have three behavior. Okay, the behavior is R2, R2 underscore 11, R2 underscore AF12, and these are the action. Now it's also a good habit for us to enable the statistic, because by default the Huawei equipment do not enable the statistic. So if let's say you want to do a troubleshooting, enable statistic will be important. So let me add the statistic inside there. Okay, behavior R2 statistic enable. Okay, then I'm going to do a traffic behavior R2 underscore AF11 statistic enable, and finally 12. Then I do a statistic enable. That's it. Do one more time to do a display traffic behavior user defined. There you have it. Now I have my classifier and I have my behavior. So next we are going to do a policy. Now the policy is to tie everything together. Okay, so I'm going to do a traffic policy. Alright, so let's call it R2. So classifier is R2, behavior is R2. Now what's mean here is that the classifier of R2, if I scroll up here, it basically means that I'm going to match. Alright, I'm going to match based on, okay, all the way up here. There you go. Classifier of R2 is to match on ACL 2001, and 2001 basically said I'm going to match a source of quad 1. Alright, so here I'm going to have another classifier of R2 underscore AF11 with the behavior of R2 underscore AF11. And the last one here, classifier R2 underscore AF12 with the behavior of R2 underscore of AF12. There you have it. So let me double check by using this command, display traffic policy user defined. So here my policy is called R2, okay, which consists of R2 classifier and R2 behavior, R2 AF11 classifier and R2 AF11 behavior. Now once you have configured that, next step here is to apply this into the interface. So I am in interface gig 00. I'm going to do a traffic policy. The name is called R2. Now it's going to ask me for the inbound or outbound direction. So the direction is coming into my router, so it's in inbound. There you have it. Okay, now what we're going to do over here is that when R1 using a source of 1.1.1, okay, let me show you here. If the source is 1.1.1 entering here, you should have EF. If it's 11, 11, 11, 11, you should have AF11. And if you have 12.12.12.12, you should have AF12. Okay, so how do we prove that that is the case? Now, when you come into my router, you do not have a marking, but when the R2 going toward R3, the marking will be there. So I'm going to do a Wireshark here, right here on 001. Okay, so this is my Wireshark. Okay, alright, so my Wireshark is keep on moving away. Alright, there you go. Okay, so there's my OSPF here. Alright, let me shorten the column. Right, so I'm going to do a ping from R1. So let me do a ping from 1.1 to 3.3. Now if my configuration is correct, the Wireshark should be able to capture the EF, okay, as my marking. So let me show you here and expand it so you can see that this is the field, expedited forwarding. You see that? Okay, so that is where I have 1.1. Okay, now if I'm going to do a ping -A using a source of 11 to 3.3, I should have AF11. Okay, so let's double check. Alright, so you can see that there is an AF11, and if I'm going to do a ping on 12, I should be able to get AF12. Okay, so this is 12. There you have it. Now how do we verify that our statistics? So if I go back into R2, display traffic, policy statistic, interface gig 000 for the inbound. Now you will notice that I have the matches over here. There are 15 that is match. Alright, because each of the ping is 5 packet, and all these are actually the byte. Okay, so you can see from here. I'm sorry. Okay, so what you can see from here is the match. Okay, so we have the packet that is matched and all is passed. None of this is being dropped. So here you have it on how you can configure the QoS and how we actually configure the classifier, behavior, as well as the policy. Next, I'm going to show you how we can do the congestion avoidance. And for us to do that, we are going to do the drop profile. So the command for you to do that is a drop profile. Let's say I'm going to call a name. It's called drop profile data. Now first you have to configure the drop based on WRED DSCP. Okay, then we are going to say that DSCP, assuming that now just now I have AF11 and AF12, this is my data. So I'm going to say that if I'm going to do a receive AF11, the low limit is, let's say, 60, the high limit, let's say, is 80, and my discard percentage, let's say I'm going to select 30. Okay, and another DSCP AF number 12, let's say I'm going to have a lower limit. Let's say I'm going to say when you hit 50%, I will drop you randomly, and the high limit is 70, and I'm going to discard you even more. Okay, so this is my profile. It's called data. Now for the voice, I do not want it to be based on random, but I would like to make it based on the tail drop. Alright, so you can do a display drop profile data. Okay, now as you can see from here, if you scroll here, this is the default drop profile, but we do change the profile. You can see that there's a AF11 60 80 and AF number 12, which is 50 70. There's a low limit, high limit, and the discard percentage. Alright, so that is my profile. Now the profile will not be used, or it will not be effect if, let's say, you have not configured anything on the queue profile. So you have to be in working in conjunction. Right, the next step that I need to do here is to create a QoS queue profile. Let's call it as the R2. Okay, that's my queue profile. I'm going to do a schedule. Alright, so I'm going to use a weighted fair queue before that. So these are my schedule. Alright, deficit round robin, priority queuing, weighted fair queue, and weighted round robin. So for this, I'm going to use a WFQ. Okay, and I need to specify which queue is WFQ. So I have 0 to 7, which I have 8 queue here. Let's say I'm going to say that any queue from 1 to 2 is WFQ, and the priority queuing is queue number 5. Okay, and I'm going to specify that queue number 1, the drop profile is data. Okay, queue number 2, the drop profile is also data. Alright, so you can see that Q1 and 2 is a drop profile data, but Q1 and Q2 is under weighted fair queue. Queue number 5 is priority queuing. Now this is my profile, and the profile is called R2. Now once you have configured a profile, we have to go into the interface to apply the QoS profile. So the command for you to do that is called QoS queue profile R2. There you have it. Okay, so I apply the congestions avoidance and the congestions management under the interface. Right, so this is how you can actually configure both the QoS setting in the R2.
Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel.